Sometimes you just want to start over. No big dramas, no disasters. Just, a clean slate. That's what we decided to do. Change cities, rent an apartment, leave noisy, concrete LA for a place where everything is at arm's length. Where you can hear yourself think. Where a child can sleep soundly. Where silence is not a rarity, but an everyday occurrence. We found the house through a private listing on Craigslist. It looked oddly simple. For rent, old house, 3 bedrooms, large lot, quiet neighborhood, suitable price. Long-term rental only. No pictures, no intrusive details. Just coordinates, the landlord's name, Mrs. Palmer, and a phone number. For some reason, I wrote right away. A couple hours later I got a reply, "If you're looking for peace, this house will do." Anna looked at the message and said, "That sounds like the start of something bad." I smiled. It's just an old lady who doesn't know how to use Zillow. A week later, we were already standing in the driveway, me, Anna, and Nathan. He was clutching the plush raccoon he'd been carrying around for the past 4 years and squinting into the sun. The house stood, tucked into the shade of maple trees, on the edge of a village where even Google Maps didn't know the names of some of the streets. Large, with a tarnished facade, porch, and creaky steps, it looked like something that hadn't changed in 30 years. Maybe 50. Mrs. Palmer greeted us with a pot of lemonade and a voice with too much honey and too little information. "The house has outlived more than one family," she said, smiling. "It remembers kind people." I decided then that she was just weird, like most people in towns with one gas station and a post office. The first night, Nathan couldn't sleep. He asked me to leave the door to the room ajar. "It's too quiet," he said. "I can't hear the cars." In Los Angeles, he fell asleep to the hum of the freeway as white noise. Anna was stirring in her sleep. And I somehow knew there was a light switch somewhere in the basement, and I went straight to it without thinking. Like I'd lived here before. But that was impossible. On the 3rd day, he found the box. I was just spinning the new Wi-Fi router when he came in from the attic with a face full of importance, like he'd found a treasure. "Dad," he said. "Who's that girl?" I turned around. He was holding an old, shabby, heavy cardboard box. There was a dust mark on the lid in the shape of a palm. Like someone had touched it, recently. Inside were photographs. Yellowed, film, black and white. And one in color, almost faded. Nathan was in it. Or, a boy who looked exactly like Nathan. Same chin shape, same dimples in his cheeks, even his sneakers looked like his. Except there was a girl standing next to him. A little older. Wearing a light-colored dress. Dark hair, straight like Anna's. They were holding hands. She looked into the camera with an expression, not a smile. Not sadness. Just, knew someone would see her. Later. On the back was written in neat handwriting. Mila. 8yo. Before she went missing. I felt a chill go through my chest. "Who's that?" Nathan asked again. "I don't remember having a sister." Anna walked into the room, saw the photo, and went pale. "Is this a joke?" "No. You set this up." I shook my head. "Are you seriously telling me that our son somehow ended up in a picture with the girl who disappeared?" Her voice shook. "I don't know what it is. But you're seeing what I'm seeing." Nathan just sat there staring at the photo. Later, when I peeked into his room, he was drawing. A girl. Same hair, same dress. But in the drawing, she was standing in the shadows. Outside the window. Outside their house. "Do you dream about her?" I asked. He shook his head. "No. She's here. She said this is her house." I clenched my teeth. I didn't sleep that night. I went down to the basement again. Everything seemed familiar. The floorboards creaked in all the right places. The walls were uneven, like they'd been repaired. And on the wall by the boiler, I found scratched letters. Almost indistinguishable. Mila. Stop. Listen. The next day I decided not to say anything to Anna. She was already freaking out. She said it was like there was an old odor in the house that wouldn't go away. That the dreams were black and white. That Nathan started whispering even during the day. I said it was just stress. But I pulled out that picture again. And I started to remember. The next morning Nathan sat at the window and looked out into the yard. He wasn't even looking, he was waiting. I crept up quietly, and I heard him whisper. I'm awake, yeah. He's awake now, too. I froze. Who are you talking to? I asked. He looked at me. Quite calmly. As if I had interrupted something mundane. With her, he answered. She said you were already starting to remember. Just ran away then. I squatted down next to him. His face was serious. Even too serious for a 9-year-old boy. Nay, who is she? He hesitated. His fingers twisted the edge of his pajamas. She doesn't call herself by her first name. But I know her name is Mila. I clenched my jaw. You made her up. He shook his head. She comes at night. Sometimes she talks. Sometimes she just stands there. She knows where my room is. The words from the picture flashed through his mind, Mila. 8yo. Before she went missing. Anna didn't know what that meant. And neither did I. But everything in my chest was shaking like a string. A couple hours later, I told Anna that I wanted to walk around the neighborhood a little. I was actually headed to the city library. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for. Maybe an article. Maybe a reference. I looked through the old archives of the local newspaper. They were half about harvests and pie contests, but in the August 1995 issue I found a note. An 8-year-old girl is missing. Name withheld. The family lived in a rented house on the western edge. According to the parents, the child just disappeared while everyone was asleep. The disappearance was discovered in the morning. The search continues. There was no photo. No name. But the description of the house is almost exact. I got home for dinner. Anna was tense. She showed me Nathan's drawing. It was eerily accurate. The house in sections. His rooms. Our bedroom. The baby's room. And the basement. But the basement wasn't a boiler room, it was a staircase. Down somewhere. Down, under the floor. He's never seen how the basement works, Anna whispered. You said he never went down there. I nodded. And the thought swirled around in my head, what if he just remembered? That night I set up an old baby monitor in Nathan's room. A simple model, no frills. Small camera, infrared. It's quiet, it's stable. Until 3:44 a.m. I didn't notice it right away. Woke up in the morning and checked the tape as usual. Everything was fine. Until I got to the right time. There's a room on the screen. Quiet. Darkness, cut through by an infrared image. Then movement. From the corner, right by the door, a figure entered the frame. I couldn't make out a face. I couldn't make out who it was. A silhouette. Tall. Thin. Long fingers. Disproportionate. I knew she was, walked over to the bed. Leaned over. Moved her lips. The camera sound wasn't on, but I could see the lips moving. And Nathan, smiling in his sleep. Like everything was okay. I rewound it. Rewound again. The shadow came. It whispered. And in the morning, it was gone. Anna didn't believe it at first. I showed her the tape. She turned away halfway through. Could it be you? She asked. What? You're dreaming, sleepwalking, or, I don't know. It could all be explained. I didn't argue. I wanted an explanation myself. I needed it all to be explainable. Rational. Logical. But Nathan, he wasn't the same anymore. He started talking slowly. A strange reflex appeared, he looked over his shoulder every time before answering a question. He drew the same subject over and over again, his room. And the girl. First without a face. Then with eyes. Big as a doll's. No pupils. No eyelids. I asked. Why are you drawing her again? He answered. She wants me not to forget. On the fourth day he said. Mom can't hear her. You have heard her. That's why you have to stay. What do you mean stay? You know. He got up and went to his room. That night he said a phrase that sent chills down my spine. She said you were the first. First. He nodded. She remembers you. Even when you don't remember her. I looked out the window. A lonely swing was swinging in the garden. And for a second, I swore I saw someone sitting on it. The next morning, Anna stood at the stove and stirred her oatmeal, but she did it in a machine-like manner. I looked at her and knew she no longer just felt something was wrong. She knew. The question was how much she was willing to admit it. I put the coffee down and said. Listen, about Nathan's journal. And the drawings. Anna nodded slowly, not looking at me. I want to talk to someone local. A neighbor, for example. Mrs. Harper. Maybe she knows who used to live here. You have a theory? I shrugged. I have a fear. Mrs. Harper lived across the street, in a house with a peeling porch and two identical porcelain dogs at the front door. A typical old house where time itself seemed to slow down. I rang the doorbell, which made such a squeaky, ding, sound it sent shivers down my spine. The door opened slowly. A gaunt woman in an owl sweater showed up. Her eyes were sharp, like someone who'd seen too much and was now paying for it all with vigilance. Good morning. I'm sorry, I'm Lucas. We've moved into house number 12. She nodded. Slowly. Like she was expecting me to come over. Are you the kind of person who doesn't stay long? She asked. I didn't realize right away what that meant. We recently moved in. So you haven't heard footsteps in the night yet. She said it as if in between. Like she was discussing the rain. I froze. Then I asked. Do you know anything about the previous tenants? She let me inside. The house smelled of spices, old paper and, for some reason, iron. In the kitchen, she put the kettle on and began. This house has stood empty for almost 6 years. Before that, a family lived in it. A husband, a wife and a girl. Mila. A sweet girl, always waving when she passed on her bike. I held my breath. She's gone. Just, disappeared. In the middle of the day. Toys were left on the porch. Lunch on the table. Parents went crazy. Police searched woods, ponds, barns. Nothing. She pulled an old box out of the closet, rummaged around, pulled out an old newspaper and tossed it on the table. Missing, 8-year-old girl vanishes from rural home. No signs of struggle. Authorities continue search. The photo is blurry, but familiar. It's the same girl that's in the picture with Nathan. Mila. And what happened to the family? I asked. They moved away. A couple months later. The house stood empty. Then you showed up, or rather, you weren't the first. The third, I'd say. What do you mean, third? Before you, there was a young guy, a programmer, I think. Before him, a young couple, no kids. No one stayed more than 3 months. I swallowed. And you were talking, about steps. She smiled. Sadly. I can hear them if the window's open. Too light to be grown up. Too confident to be a rat. I stood up. Thank you, Mrs. Harper. Thank you. She walked me to the door and, already on the threshold, asked. Has he started to see her yet? I didn't answer. I just closed the door behind me. When I returned, Anna was on the veranda with a cup of tea and wrapped in a blanket. The wind was ruffling her hair. She didn't turn around, but she said. She talks to him more and more. I can hear him answering her. Asks what toys she loved. What kind of bike she had. I sat down next to her. She was real. A neighbor confirmed it. Went missing about 6 or 7 years ago. The house was empty. 2 people moved in after her. No one stayed long. And now us. Anna looked at me. Her eyes were anxious, but not panicked. Why didn't you ever tell me you'd been here? I froze. I didn't remember. Really? I nodded. Only now something is starting to surface. In shards. Vaguely. We were here over the summer. Visiting someone, or filming. I remember the swings. I remember a tree with a heart carved in it. She stood up. Went into the house. A minute later, she came back. In her hands, a small square of paper. A snapshot. I knew right away what it was. An old Polaroid photograph. A little faded. It shows me, about 7 years old, standing on the veranda. There's a girl next to me. Smiling. Blonde hair. T-shirt with a cartoon. A stuffed dog in her hand. I looked at the photo, and my heart was pounding as if it was going to burst out. On the back, signed in my mom's handwriting. Summer. Lucas and Mila. Before everything changed. Anna looked at me. You knew. I shook my head. No. I really didn't. You brought us here, Lucas. I didn't know. You brought us to the house where the girl you knew died. And now she's here again. We were silent. The wind picked up. From inside came Nathan's voice. Dad. She says you'll remember everything soon. I turned slowly toward the door. And inside I already knew, yes, I would remember. And when I did, I wouldn't be the same. When I opened my eyes in the night, the room was silent. Not dead silence, but unsettling silence, as if the house was holding its breath. As if the walls were listening. Anna was lying next to me. But she was awake. Are you awake? I whispered. I can feel her here, she said. Who is she? You know. I sat up. Stared into the darkness. And realized, nothing more could be put off. The next morning, when Nathan left for school, Anna had insisted on it, though I could see her fingers trembling as she braided his hair. I went to the basement. The house was old. The stairs creaked like they hadn't been touched in years. The lights weren't on. The flashlight on my phone was blinking. Sure enough, it was at 9% charge right now. The basement was standard, concrete, dust, wooden beams. But in the very corner, a locked door. A cellar. Small, almost child-sized. I stood in front of it for 5 minutes, no less. Then I pulled the handle. It wouldn't budge. The lock was rusty, but it held. I got a screwdriver. A couple of sharp strokes, and the bracket broke. When I opened the hatch, an odor hit my nose. Not rotten. It was old. As if the air that lay beneath that door held someone else's memories. I lowered myself down. The stairs creaked beneath my feet. The room was small. No windows. Just concrete walls, peeling boards, an old doll in the corner. The red plastic was already faded. The eyes were missing. Everything inside me shrank. And that's when I saw it. An old drawing taped to the wall with yellow duct tape. It was unevenly drawn, with felt-tip pens. A man and a girl. Signed in a child's hand, Mila and Lucas. I sat down on the floor. My head was buzzing. Like someone had abruptly turned on the radio on a frequency I hadn't heard in 25 years. Flashes. Swings. Laughter. Summer. Mila dragging me by the hand into the woods. Come on, I'll show you a secret. The basement. I'll hide here, and you lock up and then find me. The darkness. My fright. My scream, Mila. And silence. And then, nothing. Nothing. As if someone had pressed delete in my head. But now it was coming back. I closed my eyes. The tears came on their own. Anna was waiting upstairs. When I got upstairs, she realized everything on my face. You remembered. I nodded. We used to play. I was a kid. I didn't understand. I closed the door. She couldn't get out. Did you tell your parents? No. I was scared. I cried. I told them she was missing. Everyone thought she'd run away or been taken. But she died in the basement. Because of me. Anna wrapped her arms around herself. Stood like a statue. Face pale. Jaw clenched. You brought us here, to the house where the girl you knew died. And you didn't say anything. I walked over. Wanted to take her hand. She pulled away. Don't touch me. I need to think. She went into the bedroom. I was left alone. With the house. With the voices. With her name, which now resounded inside me like a curse. That night, Nathan woke up at 3:21. I know because I sat at his door and looked at the clock every 3 minutes. He walked past me. Silently. Without looking. Went to the attic. I got up. Followed him. Nathan? Where are you going? He didn't answer. In the attic, he stood at the window and said. She's here. Who? He turned around. There was something foreign in his eyes. Mila. Son, no. It's all just. She says she wants you to remember everything. So you'll pay. For you to see. He pointed to the wall. I walked over. On the wooden board, a fresh drawing. Hadn't been there this afternoon. A girl. The basement. Stairs. A locked door. And a boy at the top. Signed, he shut me out. I sank to my knees. Nathan leaned in. You're not bad. But you've forgotten. And she remembers everything. The next morning I told Anna everything. Every detail. She was silent for a long time. Then she said. I don't know if I can forgive you. But you can't hide anymore. I nodded. And then we went to the police. I told them everything. They looked at me strangely. Asked why I only remembered now. I couldn't explain. I referred to the diary. The drawings. The officer just sighed. You want to confess to murder? After 25 years? Without a body? Yes. And where's the evidence? The basement. 12, Ashwood Street. They promised to check it out. But I saw it, no one believed it. When we got home, Anna took Nathan to her sister's house. I need to understand, Lucas. Everything. All right. I was alone. Again. With the house. With her voice in every creak. With her eyes in the reflection of the window. I went down to the basement. I sat on the floor. And I whispered. I'm sorry. The next day, I found a new drawing. Lying by the door. Same basement. But the door was open. And next to it was a sign. You remembered. I'm leaving now. When Nathan disappeared, everything in the house became different. The silence wasn't emptiness. It was expectation. I came out of the bedroom. His door was ajar. The bed was made. Pajamas neatly folded on the chair. Toys in place. And not a sound. I called his name. No answer. Anna stood behind me. Her face was dead white. In her hands, his notebook. Open to the last page. One sentence. She's not alone now. I felt everything inside collapse. As if the walls of the house were no longer just wood and drywall. It was as if they were looking at us. We started looking. Room, empty. The attic, empty. Bathroom, kitchen, even the yard, silent. Then I realized. The basement. I opened the hatch. I went down first. Anna followed me. Inside, it smelled cold and earthy. The smell was the same as in my memories. There was movement in the corner. We rushed over there. He was sitting with his knees to his chest. Alive. No scratches. But the look in his eyes wasn't his anymore. Son. Anna whispered. He slowly raised his head. A slight smile on his face. Not an evil one. Not kind. Just a stranger's. She showed me everything, he said. How you forgot her. How she screamed. But she's not alone now. I'm with her. And we've forgiven you. Forgiven? I could barely breathe. He nodded. And looked over to the corner. We turned around. There was a shadow. Nothing distinct. But there it was. About the height of a child. Standing between the boxes. Watching. No eyes. No face. But watching. Anna gasped. I squeezed her hand. The shadow didn't move. But in my head, a voice. A whisper. As if inside my skull. Not words, sensations. You remembered me. That's enough. I blinked. The shadow was gone. Nathan stood up. Walked over to me. Hugged me. Dad, she's not alone anymore. It's okay. I didn't know what to say. The police didn't believe me. Of course they didn't. We told them about the disappearance as a misunderstanding. The old manhole we found. The strange behavior of the child. They wrote it all down. But they looked at us the way they look at the mentally unstable. No one mentioned Mila. Anna didn't come back to the house. I can't, Lucas. I'll be with Nathan. But, not here. I realized. I stayed. Alone. With the house. With her footsteps on the stairs. With the voices that echoed at 3:17 in the morning. I wasn't afraid. I knew it wasn't evil. It was just a memory that had found a place to live. A month later, I found a box in the mailbox. It was unmarked. Inside was an old photo. Me and Mila. Small. On the back. Now you remember. That means I'm free. I sat on the porch and cried. Not because I was scared. Because it hurt. Because it was embarrassing. Because I remembered. I donated the photo to the local library archives. Asked them not to cite the source. Just to keep it. In case anyone else comes here. In case someone else hears the footsteps. In case someone else forgets. It's been 3 years now. I don't live in that house anymore. It stands empty. But I often see it in my dreams. The windows are dark. The door is open. And there's a little girl on the doorstep. With eyes like the sky before the storm. She says. Thank you for remembering me. I'm not a shadow. I'm Mila. And goes inside. Again. You can forget the name. You can forget the face. But what you didn't save. It will be waiting. Because memory is also a form of life.